Okay, let's begin. Good morning. How are you? Okay. This morning you are going to have a look at the greatest book of the last century. This is the book. It's called The Tower. Right? There are several poems here, probably the greatest poem. Look at this illustration, picture. What is it? It's tower. Yeah. It was built a long time ago, in Roman times, and Jesus bought it and restored it, and then he lived in here during the summer for several years. And while living here, he wrote some greatest poems. He is a very romantic person, right? So have a look. Okay, this morning we are going to do three things actually. First of all, we'll keep reading the essay, the Multifariousness in Form and Substance of the 1916. And then we will read a part of a poem, Meditations in Time of Civil Wars. It's a word poem and a long poem. It's a series of poems, and we are going to read one section. The poem has several sections, and we're going to read only one section, depicting the tower. And another thing is, we are going to read a poem about Modgon. Very short poem, but very powerful poem. Actually, in the poem, the speaker describes a woman, and also the poem has a background of the Civil War. So. We are going to read, we finished reading the essay about the poem, it's 1916. Then part of the poem, meditation in time of Civil War. Then no second Troy, right? So, okay, now let's keep reading the essay. Let's go back to the essay. Multifariousness in Form and Substance. Page 156, section 5. As shown above, form has nothing to do with intention. Form has nothing to do with intention. Probably it's a exaggeration, right? Actually, you have an intention in making a certain form, right? But form, as I said, form evolves by itself, right? For example, if you do a portrait painting, right? If you do a painting of Modgon, the painting itself is not about Modgon. It has nothing to do with Modgon. The painting is a result of the skills and experiences and things like that, right? So an artwork is what? It has nothing to do with intention, right? So this is my argument here, right? As shown above, form has nothing to do with intention. Form just comes with time and age. Is a quote from what? From St. Francis, right? Francis Bacon. Yeats' existed in 1916 mapped with a particular time and place in which Yeats was ready to do it, just as Francis Bacon was when he did study after Velazquez's portrait of Pope Innocent X, done in 1953. According to Bacon, however, there is acquired skill which, together with time and age, amounts to a certain ability. Okay, section 6. Now, the multi-layered oral structure of Eastern 1916 as its multifariousness of its meaning. A scholar, Norman Jeffers' commentary on Easter 1916 begins. The manuscript of this poem is dated 25th September 1916. Yeats wrote it when he was staying with Maud Gonne McBride in Calvados. The manuscript first appeared in Easter 1916, an edition of 25 copies privately printed by Clement Shorter for distribution among his friends. So the poem was first published privately, right? And subsequently in the New Statesman on 23rd October 1920, Menon called this poem a palinode to September 1916. The Irish Republic was proclaimed on Easter Monday, 24th April, and the center of Dublin occupied by the Republicans. There were the Irish volunteers of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, probably about 700 in all. They held out until 29th April. From 3rd to 15th May 15th, 15 of readers were executed after a series of court-martial. How much Yeats was shocked is shown in his letter to Lady Gregory on 11th May. My dear Lady Gregory, the Dublin tragedy has been a great sorrow and anxiety. I'm trying to write a poem on the man executed. Terrible beauty has been born again. If the English Conservative Party had made a declaration that they did not intend to rescind the Home Rule Bill, there would have been no rebellion. I had no idea that any public event could so deeply move me, and I'm very despondent about the future. At the moment, I feel that all the work of years has been overturned. All the bringing together of classes, all the freeing of Irish literature, and criticism from politics. Maud Gonne reminds me that she saw the ruined houses about O'Connell Street, Central Street in Dublin, right? O'Connell Street, and the wounded lying about the street in the first few days of the war. I do not yet know what she feels about her husband's death. Her husband was involved in it and he was executed. Her letter was written before she heard of it. Her main thought seems to be tragic dignity has returned to Ireland. So that's why we are going to read No Second Troy. It is about Maud Gonne and the political situation. Very short poem, but very beautiful. A very beautiful metaphors in it. Each 1916 expresses how Yeats reacted to the rebellion. His reaction to it is most complex and indefinable, as shown in his form, with the ever-changing minds of the narrator working underneath the surface of his form. The substance in it seems like genome mapping in progress, despite the streamlined outer form of poem. The poem's overall structure hinges on the third stanza. This third stanza is very important. If you read the poem, if you go through the poem, you feel that, oh, it has nothing to do with the poem, right? It sounds like an aside in a play, right? But it is the key point, key part of the poem. The poem's overall structure hinges on the third stanza. The first stanza is dependent of the rest of stanzas, as I've shown in the previous sections. Stanza 1 shows Yeats in transition from a distant observer to a shocked sympathizer. If stanza 1 is separated, the rest look symmetrical. For example, a 24-line stanza with 5 sentences, 16-line stanza with 2 sentences, a 24-line stanza with 5 sentences. 24, 5, 16, 2, 24, 5. The middle stanza is an aside, which is the crux of this poem, and which universalizes all in the world and simultaneously eulogizes the rebels. Yeats neither praises nor disparages them. It is the heaven's power to do that. Okay, let's look at this stanza, middle stanza. Hearts with one purpose alone, through summer and winter, seem enchanted to a stone to trouble the living stream. He's discussing a stone in the middle of the stream, right? the horse that comes from the road, the rider, the bird that range, from cloud to tumbling cloud, minute by minute they change. It's a depiction of the nature and the animals in it. It has nothing to do with the revolution, or the uprising, right? A shadow cloud on the stream changes minute by minute. Very beautiful observation. A scene, right? Reflection of a cloud on the water. A horse hoof slides on the brim. It's the part of the war action, right? A horse hoof slides on the brim of the river, stream. A horse hoof slides on the brim. A horse plashes within it. The long-legged hand moors dive. Hands to moor cocks call. The long-legged moor hands dive and call, and hands call to moor cocks. Still is natural scene, right? Minute by minute they leave, stones in the mist of war. Probably this will be the most remembered lines for me. If I think of all the famous elegies in the world, it compares well with Shakespeare's Lady Macbeth monologue, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and with the Yeats's, the passage of time when things change minute by minute. Both Yeats and Bacon are under the influence of Shakespeare. Okay. Part 7. Stanzas 2 and 4 are almost complex delineations of the rebel leaders executed. These stanzas represent Yeats' complex attitudes to politics and his unfulfilled love toward the woman whose husband was executed, as well as his to the current uprising. The beauty of the two stanzas is that, like Francis Bacon, Yeats does not know how to complete his poem. The poem just happened as he is making progress. His age and time take it over and finish it beautifully. A terrible beauty is born, which means the poem, right? A terrible beauty is born. That is, a new great poem is born, yet he gives this poem also to the memory of those who died, including Macdonough and McBride and Colin Pierce. Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. He makes some connection, right? Heart is called a stone, right? He has just described the natural sin, a stone in the middle of stream, right? And then he made connections here, right? Too long a sacrifice can make a stone of the heart. Oh, what may suffice? That is heaven's part, all part, to murmur name after name. As a mother names a child, while sleep at last has come on limbs that had run wild. Yeats' attitude to the words is very ambiguous, right? His attitude is very ambiguous. Right? Yeats expands his elegy to the dimension of Michelangelo's Pieta. Have you seen the Pieta? Michelangelo's Pieta? Right? Sun on her left, right? As well as to Mother, our Mother in flesh, Mother, dust in this world, like that of Wallace Stevens' Sunday Morning. This is a wonderful poem, right? Okay, now, why don't you have a look at the tower? Tower looks like this. Oh, you saw it, right? Oh, this is the tower. This one, you see? And the illustration is what? Okay. This is the tower, right? Oh, this tower, right? Tower. It's about three-story tower building. Okay. I couldn't enter it because it was flooded and it was in restoration. So last year, I couldn't enter it. Tower. Okay, why don't we read the poem, part of poem. My house. You see it? Do you see it? It's a section 2 of the poem, Meditations in Time of Civil Wars, part 2. Actually, this is about that tower. My house. An ancient bridge, there is a bridge, all right? An ancient bridge, a more ancient tower, meaning its house. A farmhouse that is sheltered by its wall. Beside the tower, there is a farmhouse, right? Farmhouse. An acre of stony ground, where the symbolic rose can break in flower, old ragged elms, old thorns innumerable, the sound of rain and sound of every wind that blows, the stilted water hen crossing stream again, scared by the splashing of a dozen cows, a winding stair, a chamber arched with stone. This is the depiction of the interior of the building. Interior, a winding stair. There's there, winding stair. A chamber arched with stone, a gray stone fireplace with an open hearth, a candle and written page. Il Penseroso's Platonist toiled on in some like chamber, shadowing forth how the demonic bridge imagined everything. Benighted travelers from markets and from fairs had seen his midnight candle glimmering. Two men have found it here. A man-at-arms gathered a score of horse and spent his days in this tumultuous spot, where through long wars and sudden night alarms, his dwindling score and he seemed castaways, forgetting and forgot. And I, after me, my badly heirs may find to exalt the lonely mind, befitting emblems of adversity. Okay, you got the essay? You got both the essays and poem, right? Why don't you look at the poem, No Second Troy, handout, hold the handout. One sheet, right? The Sorrow of Love and No Second Troy. How many lines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 12 lines. This is a very short poem, but this is perfect, wonderful poem. It's full of beautiful similes and metaphors. You like it? Okay. No Second Troy. Why should I blame her that she filled my days with misery, or that she would of late have taught to ignorant man most violent ways, or hold the little street upon the street? Had they but courage equal to desire? This is one sentence. And each line ends what? Each line is complete. Each line is a sentence. So one line is complete and goes on and on and on, right? So what does it mean? He's excited, right? Right? So why should I blame her? Why should I blame her? Meaning what? The speaker is talking about whom? The lady, Morgan, right? What kind of woman was she? She was a fighter. She was fighting for independence from England, right? And why should I blame her? Why should I blame her that she filled my days with misery? She filled my days with misery? Or that she would of lately, have taught to ignorant men most violent ways? He was the leader, right? So a lot of young men followed her and killed, right? They were killed. have taught to ignorant men most violent ways, or hurl the little streets upon the street. Great. It's kind of a stone image, right? You throw them. When in a demonstration you throw stones, right? So you hurl the little street upon the great. Little street upon. So you can imagine the confusion of the city. Is the math, right? So hold the little streets upon the street. Had they but courage equal to desire, what could have made her peaceful? What could have made her peaceful? Wonderful, right? Nothing will make her mind peaceful. Why? Peaceful with the mind. What could have made her peaceful with the mind? That nobleness made simple as a fire. Nobleness made the simple, her mind, simple as a fire, as simple as a fire. What could have made her peaceful with beauty, like Titan bow? Wonderful metaphor, right? Beauty with the Titan bow, very dangerous, right? Titan bow, very beautiful, but it's dangerous. You can shoot the arrow, right? Right? With beauty like a Titan bow, a kind that is not natural in an age like this. Do you fight with an arrow or what? Fire, right? So, not natural. Today, she's not natural, right? A beauty, a kind that is not natural in an age like this. Being high, being solitary, and being most stern is the attributes of Modgon, right? A great fighter. Why? What could she have done being what she is? Was there another Troy for her to burn? Was there another Troy to burn, for her to burn? This is the greatest praise that could be paid to a woman, right? So, no second Troy. And we're going to read the essay about this poem. It's taken from my PhD dissertation. I did it a long time ago, about almost 30 years ago, right? Okay, the handout. Page 136, No Second Troy, written in December 1908, is in many ways, in respects, the beginning of a new kind of poetry in which the tone and aesthetics have been completely changed. Yeats felt deep despair at Modgon's decision in 1903 to marry John McBride. Her husband has just been executed, involved in the uprising, right? A drunken, vainglorious lout. Although his relations with her began anew soon after her separation from McBride in 1905. However, this marriage must have been the greatest shock Yeats had ever suffered in his life. Yeats, who had been cool, recovering from the shock of Moe's marriage. Cool is the place in which there is a great house kept by Lady Gregory, and he lived there. He lived and worked there for a while, right? Cool. Recovering from the shock of Modgon's marriage, wrote in his preface to In the Seven Woods. I made some of these poems walking about among the Seven Woods before the big wind of 1903 blew down so many trees and troubled the wild creatures and changed the look of things. This seems strikingly to reflect his relations with Modgon and to indicate the transition in the poems. Yeats, especially after Moe's marriage, seems to have been disappointed with the contemporary Ireland and turned to classical literature for solace. Nature also seemed to him to lose its vitality and have less power upon his imagination. He yearned for a return of the beauty and a strength of the glorious past of civilization. It's taken from Yeats's collection of essays. is from his book, Exploration. We have no longer in any country a literature as great as the literature of the old world. And that is because of the newspapers, all kinds of second-rate books, the preoccupation of man with all kinds of practical changes have driven the living imagination out of the world. I have read hardly any books this summer but Cervantes and Boccaccio and some Greek plays. Yesterday, I went out to see the reddening apples in the garden, and they faded from my imagination sooner than they would have from the imagination of that old poet who made the songs of seasons for the Fiona or out of Chaucer's that celebrated so many trees. Theories, opinions, these opinions among the rest, flowed in upon me and blotted them away. Even our greatest poets see the world with preoccupied minds. Great as Shelley is, these theories about the coming change the world which he has built up with so much elaborate passion, hurry him from life continually. A civilization is very like a man or woman, for it comes in but a few years into its beauty and its strength, and then, while many years go by, it gathers and makes order about it, the strength and beauty going out of it, while in the end, it lies there with its limbs straightened out and clean linen cloth folded upon it. That may well be, and yet we need not follow among the mourners, for it may be before they are at the tomb. A messenger will run out of hills and touch the pale lips with a red amber and wake the limbs to the disorder and the tumult. That is life. Though he does not come, even so we will keep from among the mourners and hold some cheerful conversations among ourselves. For has not Virgil, a knowledgeable man and wizard, foretold that other Argonauts shall roll between clip and clip, and other fair-haired Achaeans sack another Troy? Although both Maud and Ireland had been a disappointment to Yeats, his relations with Maud, unlike his view of Ireland, were repaired soon. Yeats, being in love with Maud, could never blame such a beauty. Why should I blame her? Yeats was forgiving Maud because he had been and was still so much in love with her. Yeats's mind was permanently engraved with the image of Maud Gonne. As written in his autobiography, her beauty, backed by a great stature, could instantly affect an assembly, and not as often with our stage beauties because obvious and florid, for it was incredibly distinguished. And if, as must be, that it might seem that assembly's very self, fused, unified, solitary, her face, like the face of some Greek statue, showed little thought. Her whole body seemed a masterwork of long, laboring thought. Like Menelaus and Helen, Yeats and Maud Gonne reunited, though in the case of Yeats, Willie and Maud, it was a short but blissful moment of marriage of spirit and body from June 1903 to January 1909. The poem, No Second Troy, was written toward the height and end of that heavenly intercourse between them. Actually, it's not clear, but they had a physical contact once, right? But according to Virginia Moore, she had a physical contact. It is certain that to Yeats, Maud Gonne was a modern Helen, as claimed in the poem. The images in the poem, however, have now outgrown the influence of pre-Raphaelitism. Yeats' pre-Raphaelite concept of beauty is replaced by the ideal of classical beauty in this poem. Maud Gonne is a Greek statue now, with beauty like a Titan bow. In these words, Yeats' new aesthetics is stated: an inherent tension and balanced power in the Titan bow. Besides, the special beauty of Maud Gonne justifies the instigation of ignorant man and the turmoil of great Irish streets. Just the Helen of Troy is the emblem of a beautiful woman who caused death and destruction to the world through her irresponsible use of beauty. The Titan bow is then the image of this richness of contradiction, beauty and destruction, as found in the personality of the polka side of Maud Gonne, who was an admirably gorgeous beauty. Though Yeats's logic here might well be disagreeable to the middle class, Maud Gonne, as an embodiment of the height of beauty and the strength of civilization, must be a good reason for Yeats to make the unheroic age shoulder all the blame. Why? What could she have done, being what she is? Was there another Troy for her to burn? Surely the poem foreshadowed Lead and Swan, the perfection of aesthetics first manifested in no second Troy. As Bloom points out, we are going to read Lead and Swan next time. Probably is the greatest sonnet by Yeats. Very short poem. As Harold Bloom points out, what is wrong with the Green Helmet, which contains no second Troy, is lack of self-dramatization. The elevation of Maud Gonne to the status of classical or mythological heroines like Helen of Troy is a means to transcend the boundary of pre-Raphaelitism, or at worst, its sentimentality, to expand pre-Raphaelite poetics by a blending of pre-Raphaelitism and classicism. This is very successfully done in both early and later poems. The Sorrow of Love, the final version, is a good example technically. No second Troy is a building up of rhetorical questions that do not require answers. Unlike Bloom's view that Yeats leaps too quickly past his own argument in such poems. I don't agree with Harold Bloom. Harold Bloom is a professor at Yale University, right? If Yeats hesitates after each question, the taut and tense tone will be slackened, and the inherent beauty of the taut structural tension of no second Troy will be broken. Besides, the answers to the questions are tactfully all negative, making us nod our sympathy with Maud Gonne. The answers logically wind up with the inevitability in the title, No Second Troy. For example, why should I blame her? No, I couldn't. What could have made? None, nothing. Why, alas? What could she have done? No other than what she said, what she did. Was there another Troy? No second Troy. Does Yeats have to elaborate each question? No. I don't believe so. With no second Troy, Yeats established an idea of new aesthetic and beauty, though it is in part pre-Raphaelite in its poem. This is the conclusion of my chapter, so I'll stop here. Okay, we'll take a 10 minutes break, and then we'll